I am Madison Timmons.
I'm Chris Susi.
And we're paranormal specialists who live in the most haunted city on earth, Savannah, Georgia. Every day is Halloween in our line of work, so join us as we spin true tales of haunts, murders, and disturbing Savannah history. I'm Madison.
I'm Chris.
And welcome to the most haunted city on earth. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the most haunted city on earth. My name is Madison Timmons.
And I'm Chris Susi.
And I'm Pookie Bear.
Oh, no, not Pookie Bear.
Absolutely. Oh, yeah.
I don't know how to feel about that.
I don't know how to feel about that either.
Everyone's just like watching me. It's just like...
Yeah, it's only JT. You're probably wondering why it's only Pookie Bear right now.
If you're watching this at all, if you're just listening to it in the podcast, the camera is only focused on JT right now.
And
Yes,
there's
it
a
is.
reason for that. We are about to unveil a new surprise for all of you. Well, I guess that's
We sure
the
are.
same thing. New and surprise. So,
Well, some things can be new
Yeah.
and you could expect it.
yeah, that's true.
Now,
So-
y'all, I will say this new studio, it's still technically under construction. We're still adding to it. Chris has a surprise of his own that he will announce when he wants to announce it about haunted things. But for right now, I'm going to show you around after we unveil the set that you'll be seeing for a while here now. And but it's a tad messy behind me and all of that. So I just had to go ahead and say that. But Madison, if you want to go ahead and start the drum roll, everyone.
right.
All the para junkies in the live stream are like, drum roll. All right, here we go.
Ta-da!
Ta-da!
Woo!
It's
Hey!
creepy.
It's
Yeah.
creeptastic.
It's so much more busy.
It is.
There's so much more to look at, and if you have really good monitors, you can really focus on the
Every
creepy
single
bits
thing.
and pieces that we have in,
Yes.
in the background there.
And for people who listen to us, y'all want to talk a little bit about the background? We have Spanish
Yeah.
moss up top.
We have Spanish moss on top because Savannah. We also have a new Stay Spooky sign, which is super cool.
That is a very, very, very cool sign.
And then Patrick, of course, is here, dead center, as always.
As always, we have to have him.
We've got a cryptozoology poster with Bigfoot on it for Chris. We've got Chris's coconut mask. That's horrifying. We've got we've got a sword. We've got the amputation saw. We've got a Gullah Geechee basket that was hand woven in Charleston. What else we got? Jingles is over there.
Yes.
Jingles,
getting in his jail cell.
and his girlfriend,
yeah,
Shirley.
Shirley.
We're
Oh,
gonna
and
get
his
into
other
this,
girlfriend, Bathsheba, is over there. And Jingles is going to be getting a jail cell here shortly.
Yes, we need to put him in jail. He has caused too much mayhem already.
Yep.
Yes.
So we have a bird cage in the works for Jingles. So stay abreast for that. Jingles will no longer
needs
be
it.
free pretty soon.
Yeah, he runs around.
In the creepy hot tub over here, which is just a wooden toy chest, but it looks like they're lounging
They do look
together.
like they're lounging.
It's
Some creepy dolls.
what did we name this bear?
Oh, I don't even remember what we named the bear. Panda. Something like Panda, right? Wasn't it?
What?
I don't remember.
That seems wrong. Junkies, remind us. What did we name this bear?
Yes. The Parajunkies are going off right now. They love it.
Oh, good.
Yes, Nancy said it's gorgeous. Lexi said, hell yeah. Lindsay said, ooh, nice.
But yeah, so we've got Creepy Bear right here. We've got Red-Eyed Demon Girl next to him.
Yes.
We also have a box that says Deadly Fairy on it, which
nice.
is
Oh, yeah, that's good
technically an
stuff.
absinthe box, but
Hey, the Green Fairy.
yeah, you got to chase the Green Fairy. But no, this actually was gifted to us from a dance company, I believe, who got put in contact with a film set that had a bunch of different spooky things. So, of course,
Fun.
we grabbed the fairy box.
Oh,
Nice.
yeah.
Dead babies over here.
Dead babies are always scary.
And
yeah.
we're demonetized. Great.
Yeah, that's fine. That's okay. And then last but not least, right behind us is a blue bottle tree that was handmade. The actual like iron stand was handmade by a Gullah Geechee artist here in Savannah. So that is traditionally what you would put in front of your house or at the front of your house to capture spirits and keep away negative entities.
Indeed.
Which we'll definitely need some of.
Oh, Nancy said the bear is Mr. Nope.
Mr.
Mr. Nope.
That's it.
Yep.
Mr.
What a
Nope.
simple
Nancy.
name, but how could we ever forget?
Yes, Monique. Monique said, "Howdy, it looks so good."
Yay.
Nikki said, "Love it," in all caps.
It is really cool.
It's very
Natalie
cool.
said, "Looks so good."
So
It's
we're
really cool.
It is.
I'm so happy with
and
it.
we're going to add to this whole room
Yes.
of haunted things, which basically we're going to be adding stuff from our own collections. But if you have a spooky item or
Yes.
even just fan art or things like that of anything that you want to send us,
Or even suggestions that we could seek out ourselves.
exactly.
Yeah, it's the address is 1305 Barnard Street, Suite 108, Savannah, Georgia 31401. I'll put it in the description.
And it's also in our link tree. So if you didn't hear that or that was too
We'll
quick
throw
for
it
you,
up.
yeah.
So let's talk real fast. Let me talk about what is going to be happening. So for the para junkies, we are going to be getting a TV here soon that I'm going to use an HDMI splitter to run across the ceiling. And so basically Chris and Madison are going to be able to see the YouTube comments. So I'm not, obviously I'll respond to the comments as I see them, but they're going to be able to see them come up live, right? So it's more conversational. So that's one thing that's happening. Above Batrick, we're going to get the logo. That's why it's a little bear and above Batrick. And then any para junkies that come to Savannah and want to see the studio, just let me know and we can organize that. There's going to be some furniture around and whatnot, so it's going to be really, really cool. And then lastly, we are I would say in a month or two, we're going to evolve to multicam, and we're going to have a couple other Black Magic cameras that are going to be hitting Chris and Madison from the sides and whatnot. So we're going to be building out the side area, and it's going to be wicked.
It's going to be very cool. But yeah, so this is just the beginning of Haunted City Studios and
City
things
Studios.
like that.
Boom.
But yeah, we're probably going to also have some haunted objects on display throughout the space and things of that nature, just for, like JT said, if a para-junkie wants to come in, see the space, you can look at some of the creepy things we have that's not on the wall behind us. Because, like we said, haunted objects just end up in our possession all
Facts.
the time. But yeah, so that is the big surprise of today. But that is not the topic, technically.
It is not.
So we're actually going to be talking about Alaskan cryptids.
Alaska.
Yeah. Chris is actually going to Alaska
Yes.
in a couple days.
That is correct.
And so,
And while I'm in Alaska, I will be poking for ghosts and cryptids. So
yeah.
look for whatever I catch in the coming in the coming weeks.
It's gonna be cool, and so we were talking about that on the Fix actually the last time we filmed, and I believe it was Alyssa who said that she is from Alaska, and that gave us the idea that we should do an Alaskan episode. Well, technically, this is going to be 2 episodes because little did I know until I started researching this. Alaska's got a lot of cryptids.
There's a lot of cryptids.
And so y'all will be familiar with how we did this the last time with the Kentucky cryptids, where I have a big bowl,
You can call it a cauldron if you want.
a big cauldron.
Big bowl. A big old bowl. Big old witch's bowl.
I have this very large cauldron with different cryptids in it. So basically, we're going to pull a cryptid from the cauldron, and then we will read about that. And we've got 10 different cryptids that we could possibly pull. So hopefully, by the end of these 2 episodes that we're doing for this, we will read all of them. But if we don't, then maybe that'll become a Para Junkie exclusive. You never know.
Yeah.
You never know.
You never know.
We never know.
Chris, go ahead. How about you be the first to
I'll
pull?
reach into the cauldron, stir, and pull out. What have I got here? Bum, bum, bum. It is, the Qalupalik. Which we actually, this was the first cryptid we came across, right?
That is.
When we first decided to do this, we kind of just haphazardly said, well, let's look up Alaska cryptids, and we put it into the search bar, and this was the first one to pop up.
It is.
I have a photo up right now for the Qalupalik.
So, the Qalupalik is a creature from Inuit legend that is described as a human-like, but with greenish, scaly skin and long hair. So it sounds a little siren-like.
Right. It lives in the watery areas, which, of course, makes sense because the Inuits and water are very linked in everything that they do.
Exactly. So it resides in the sea, and it is carrying a pouch on its back where it keeps abducted children.
It has a papoose.
It has a papoose
to put children in.
A little baby Bjorn to keep all the abducted children who wander too close to the shore, which also pretty on par for every mer creature in history.
Well, and many cryptids throughout history in every culture, there is the don't go too close to the blank or the blank will get you. Don't go too close to the woods or the big bad wolf will get you. There's a narrative driven by wanting to keep your children safe.
Right.
The boogeyman, for the most part, is an invention of safety, is an invention of don't go out into the shadows, don't go out into the dark. There are things that will hurt you and harm you and kill you. Even the water itself, if you stray into frozen, freezing cold water, your chances of survival are very slim.
Right.
So keeping kids away from the water by saying there's scary, scaly papoose woman waiting to snatch you, I could see that being an effective way because I do not want to be put in a sack. On a monster's back.
and swimming with it through the Arctic Ocean.
And I'd like to go ahead and say that there are a number of cryptids throughout the world that put children in bags. That's just
true.
a thing. That there are these monsters that grab children and shove them into bags. Krampus comes to mind, almost immediately.
But the Qalupalik hums to lure children, and once captured, the children are taken underwater, never to return, which, again, very siren-like.
Yes, very siren-like.
But specifically for children.
Abby from Alaska says she lives in Fairbanks.
Oh, yes.
Oh, there you go.
Not Alyssa, Abby. Thank you very much. But yeah, thank you for inspiring this, Abby, because I had quite a time reading about these. But the Qalupalik is often described as humanoid, but with distinct unsettling features that mark it as otherworldly-ish. Now, its skin is said to be green, resembling the texture of fish, and it is frequently depicted with long flowing hair and long fingernails.
Creepy.
Yep. Super creepy.
It reminds me of that. What is it? Meg Mumblebones? Meg.
I don't know.
From Legend, when he goes into the swamp and he meets I think it's Meg Knucklebones. Meg. I don't know. It's a hag. It's a terrifying hag. And whenever I think of like a water creature that's just like almost human, I think of Meg.
I think of in Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. That
gillyweed creature.
The mer creatures that live in the lake. That when they sing above water, it's just like. And then underwater, it's beautiful. So that's what I think of.
That's how they get you. That's how they get you.
It is how they get there. Now, This creature's defining characteristic is the amoti, which it wears, which is a traditional Inuit parka designed to carry a child on the back.
There you go.
This detail is crucial as it hints at the Qalupalik's primary interest to capture unsuspecting children who wander too close to the shore. Okay. In Inuit culture, the Qalupalik serves a dual purpose. It is a tangible representation of the real dangers that exist near the icy waters, such as thin ice or unexpected currents, and it also functions as a moral enforcer. The legend of the Qalupalik is often used by parents and elders to discourage children from wandering away from the safety of the community and to teach them the importance of obeying rules.
Good old boogeyman.
Boogeyman.
Yep.
It's
going to get you.
It's going to get you. But the typical narrative involves the Qalupalik snatching children who play too close to the shore or who disobey their parents.
It's funny because the creatures are like, it's out in the woods. But if you misbehave, it'll come into the house.
Yeah.
Grab you out of the bed and abscond with you. Because you got to find something that they're scared of. I had a friend whose child was afraid of dogs. Oh. And he used dogs as the boogeyman, saying that the dogs will get them if they misbehave, without thinking of the implications of growing up thinking that dogs are like these moral, arbitrators of your morality and will come out of nowhere to drag you away. And it's that's why the boogeyman is a imaginary thing, because you're not going to see, hopefully, ideally, you're not going to see a boogeyman standing around and freak out from seeing him, because that would be terrible. That'd be like training your child to say, all bald men are evil. And then every time they see a bald man, they, wet themselves. So, use a fictional creature to threaten your children. Don't use an actual creature. My mom always talked about when she was a child, they used tigers. So, and I was like, okay, that's fair.
That's a real threat, though.
That's a real threat. That actually exists. And if it came out to get you, you should be afraid of a tiger. Don't look at a tiger and be like, oh, kitty. No, that's not, run. Actually, don't run. Find a place to hide.
And hope it doesn't maul you.
Find a slower friend and run faster than them.
But, from an educational perspective, the Qalupalik myth can be seen as a way to teach children about safety and the importance of community guidelines.
What is it, an HOA?
That's exactly what it is.
Do not put any lawn decorations in front of your house, or the Qalupalik will come.
But psychologically, though, it serves as an example of how folklore can be used to manage behavior and instill a sense of responsibility in young members of a community, aligning with broader themes across cultures where folklore and myth play critical roles in social and moral education.
Oh, yeah. My dad, I know I mentioned this on the podcast before. It was a while ago. My dad, he told me about the red eyes outside in North Carolina. He just made he made the red eyes up, and they're creatures that peek in at children while they sleep. And I named my film production company after it. It really does stick with you.
Well, Red Eyes is a famous ghost, especially in this area.
Oh yeah.
Because
Columbia,
it was pirates, and when they leave their treasures, they would leave one person behind, but they didn't want this person to be able to dig up the treasure, so they burned their eyes out with red hot irons. And so they say that the glowing red eyes are the remnants of having their eyes burned out with red hot irons.
That's hot.
Yeah, obviously.
Literally. All right, well.
Moving on
to the next one.
Bum-ba-da-dum. Cauldron.
Okay, shall I?
Yes, reach into the cauldron.
I'm stirring. Ooh, the Thunderbird. Probably the...
Thunderbird.
Oh, wow.
This is turned into a Toyota commercial.
It's an awesome car.
It's still
You should buy a Thunderbird. It's got great mileage. You'll get across the country. You'll look cool. Chicks will dig it. Thunderbird.
All right, I got the photo of the Thunderbird up.
Is it a 77 Thunderbird? Because that was a great year for the Thunderbird. Let me tell you something.
Now, the Thunderbird is probably the most commonly known cryptid, if you will, mostly because I think the Thunderbird has ranged into multiple indigenous lores.
It is in just about every lore across the country.
Very compelling, especially when it comes.
When you think about that.
But now, the Thunderbird is a prominent figure in Native American mythology across the Pacific Northwest, including Alaska. The Thunderbird is a gigantic bird capable of creating storms and thunder as it flaps its wings. It is described as having a wingspan large enough to cast vast shadows over entire villages. Wow. And the Thunderbird is considered a supernatural being of power and strength, often depicted as a protector of good, battling evil creatures and spirits.
Yeah, in some cases, it's considered like at deity level.
Yes.
Yeah. When you're really getting into like the physical giant bird versus the metaphysical protector of an area.
Yeah, and also white guys who want to look deep, get them tattooed on their chest.
Yeah.
True.
Right. And if you have a mullet, you should get a Thunderbird and drive it around.
Yeah. Yep.
If you have a mullet, specifically, that is the criteria.
Well, it doesn't hurt.
So the Thunderbird is typically depicted as a gigantic bird with a wingspan so wide that its flapping wings can generate thunder and its eyes can shoot lightning. Can you imagine
how terrifying this must be?
Right. Like the first people who experienced this entity, how horrified they must have been. They're like, oh my God, this giant bird is shooting lightning out of its eyes.
Right, exactly.
That would be so jarring. But in various depictions, it's often shown with features resembling an eagle or other large predatory birds, which are revered for their power and majesty. The Thunderbird's immense size and strength symbolize its role as a protector and a controller of the natural elements. Now, in Native American mythology, the Thunderbird is often seen as a guardian spirit that maintains the balance of the natural world. It is said to control the weather, particularly storms and rainfall, which are essential for fertility and agricultural productivity. So I could see why that would be a very important
absolutely.
deity in their lives, because if you don't have food, you're not surviving the winter. So that makes total sense, and also very common in a lot of different belief systems.
Especially when you get into those arid areas, into the pueblos and the desert areas, how important rain and having rain and how welcome it is, because the nightmare of thunder, clouds, and lightning shooting from a bird versus a bird bringing forth all of this rain,
right.
bringing this life-giving water from the sky.
And the Thunderbird is often invoked in rituals and ceremonies related to agriculture and is respected as a benefactor who brings rain and aids in crop growth. The Thunderbird is also depicted as a formidable hunter capable of capturing whales with its talons.
There you go.
Oh, wow.
So not only will it shoot lightning out of its eyes, imagine a whale flying above you in the claws of this big bird. What a horrifying sight.
That's a very intense thing.
But many stories describe its battles with other supernatural creatures, such as giant serpents or water monsters, which it fights to protect the communities. Such stories highlight the Thunderbird's role in maintaining the order of the cosmos and protecting the people from the forces of chaos. The Thunderbird holds a significant place in the art, oral traditions, and ceremonial life of many tribes. Totem poles, carvings, and paintings often depict the Thunderbird, symbolizing its power and protective nature. And as a cultural symbol, the Thunderbird represents not only the power and authority, but also the duty of care and stewardship over the environment. So now there are some anthropological and ecological interpretations, or ecological, that could suggest maybe what they think the Thunderbird could have been. So some anthropologists and historians suggest that the legends and the Thunderbird could have been inspired by real birds, such as the eagle, which is
condor.
both right.
Yeah.
which is an interesting thought process because, I mean, have you ever seen a harpy eagle? They are gnarly looking.
They're pretty scary. And you observe like an eagle darting into a river and pulling a giant fish out. That could easily conflate into a giant bird reaching into the ocean and pulling a whale out of the water. You can see where they would make those connections. And there's also, I want to say in the West, there is a pterodon myth, cryptid, and it's fascinating because it's a winged dinosaur concept, but it also has its chest glows red.
Ooh.
So at night, people see it because of this glowing chest. And I've often said, well, what if you saw a pterodon, just in its shadow form fly over, coming up with the idea of giant bird, giant, massive monster bird.
Interesting that you bring that up because that is actually another theory that people have had is that these could be stories that are memory fragments of prehistoric birds.
Oh, sure.
Like the pterotorns or the condor, which had impressively large wingspans. But nonetheless, the Thunderbird is a complex figure in Native American folklore, embodying themes of protection, power, and the sacredness of nature. It remains a vibrant and enduring element of the cultural heritage of many Native American communities, reflecting their deep respect for and connection to the natural world. And as a cultural icon, the Thunderbird bridges the spiritual and the ecological, reminding us of the importance of harmony and balance in our interactions with the environment. Which is always a good thing to note because nothing is scarier. There is no cryptid out there that is scarier than Mother Nature.
No.
Because she will smite you.
Nothing.
But yeah, so that is the Thunderbird. A very brief history of the Thunderbird. We could do a whole deep dive.
But a very popular cryptid.
Yes.
Like I said, from coast to coast, north, south, and east and west, there are Thunderbird references.
Right.
All right, the cauldron is back. Cauldron. I'm reaching into the cauldron. I'm pulling out a piece of paper, and on the piece of paper it says Bushman.
Oh,
Bushman.
perfect.
This is a man who will only drink bush beer.
He's creepy.
He is.
He's just sitting at the bar and give me another bush beer.
I had a bush beer.
Anheuser-Busch.
Well, the Bushman is also sometimes referred to as the Woodman.
Oh.
So
Well, there you go.
and
Bushman, Woodman, sometimes Twigman,
Twigman. It depends on what
Blade of Grass Man.
blade of grass.
Depends on where he is.
It depends on the.
Are you in the woods? Yeah. Well, he's a woodman.
Yeah.
Are you in the bushes? Yeah, he's a bushman.
bush.
The photo that came up looks like a hag.
They're-
Almost, with super sharp silver teeth and long claws.
Well, they are more of a Bigfoot-like creature, but
Sure.
That's what came up.
Just wild
And
man.
I was trying to find images.
maybe that's somebody is their take on the Bushman. But
He's an Alaskan wild man.
yes. The Bushman, also referred to as the Woodman, is akin to the Sasquatch of the Pacific
there you go.
Northwest, but specific to Alaskan folklore. Descriptions portray it as large, hairy, humanoid, and this creature roams the forest. Unlike Bigfoot, the Bushman is often said to be more aggressive towards humans, with many tales told by hunters and rural villagers of encounters where the Bushman has actively stalked or attacked them.
Interesting.
So the Bushman is typically described as standing between 7 to 10 feet tall, covered in thick, dark hair. So very similar to Bigfoot.
Bigfoot. That's very Bigfoot-y.
Yes. And its eyes are often noted to glow or reflect light when caught in headlights or flashlight beams, suggesting nocturnal habits.
Sure.
The creature is said to possess immense strength and agility, capable of moving silently through dense forest underbrush despite its large size. So that all sounds horrifying. Sounds like a apex predator.
Oh yeah, it really does. I guess I just didn't get the right image for it because I got this I'll show you what I got.
Yeah, show us this this silver tooth
'Cause-
monster.
It's creepy. Here.
Oh, no.
Oh, weird.
I was like, I really like this one. And then,
I feel like this is like an AI generation.
Maybe, but I kind of see where there is the primate-like quality to it. Yeah, I would not put that, although...
I was really excited about the Bushman for that reason. I was like, oh, it's creepy looking.
It is creepy looking.
I feel like somebody put it into AI and was like, what would this look like? And they're like, this demented monster. But no, it's kind of just like Bigfoot's more unhinged cousin.
Sure.
So,
and you figure that the more remote area that you encounter these things, the likelihood of it being more aggressive makes sense. Mm-hmm. You know, if it's something that is territorial in a remote area and you happen in on it, you're basically just saying, "Fight me, bro." So don't underestimate how territorial certain animals are with you just passing through their domain, and they can be pretty grudgeful. They'll chase you. They'll follow you around.
They're scrappy.
They're scrappy.
So what sets the Bushman apart from other similar cryptids is its reported level of aggression. So while Sasquatch sightings are often described as the creature being shy and elusive, the Bushman is frequently portrayed as more confrontational.
Charging at you.
Hunters and hikers in remote areas have reported feeling watched or stalked, and some even describe aggressive encounters where the creature has thrown objects or roared loudly to scare off intruders in its territory.
Fascinating.
Yeah, very.
Sightings of the Bushman are most common in the less populated and wilder parts of Alaska, where the dense forests and harsh terrain provide plenty of hiding spots. These encounters are often anecdotal, coming from locals who are familiar with the wildlife and insist that what they saw does not correspond to any known animal species. So, in Alaskan folklore, the Bushman serves as a cautionary tale about the dangers of wandering too far into the wild or underestimating the wilderness. It embodies the raw power and unpredictability of nature in these vast uncharted territories. And for some communities, the Bushman is a genuine presence that one must be prepared to encounter when venturing into certain areas. Now, there are some theories from skeptics and scientists of what they think this could be. So skeptics argue that sightings of the Bushman could be misidentifications of bears, which are common in Alaska and can occasionally walk on their hind legs, appearing momentarily humanoid. Which, to a degree, I understand where they're coming from in that point. But I don't know, like a bear throwing something at you?
Well, when you think about because now you're talking about an area where you might encounter like grizzly bears.
Right.
Because grizzly bears can get ridiculously large.
Yeah.
They can get up to that 10 feet mark, that 12-foot mark. And just them swatting at something might create the throw, they may not be interested in throwing things at you, but it's possible that a bear swiping at something, hitting it, could send a trajectory your way.
Right. And
however, there comes a point at which, when looking at a bear, I've said this before, that's the common thing about Sasquatch and Bigfoot. They say you may have seen a bear up on its hind legs. It's like, but we've all seen bears on their hind legs. We have enough media savvy to have seen a bear on its hind legs, and should be able to be like, yeah, that's a bear on its hind legs. It definitely has that bear shape and that bear waddle, because they waddle.
They do.
They're not just strolling. The little bear waddle is like a dog. When a dog gets up on its hind legs, it doesn't walk like a person. It doesn't walk like a biped. It walks like a quadruped on hind legs. And you're like, oh, that's silly. So unless you see this thing and you're like, oh, that's silly. The moment you say, oh, that's silly, it's probably a bear.
Yeah.
But the moment you say, that crazy wild hair man is coming at me, run.
I personally trust the people who are choosing to live in these rugged areas.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're going to know what animals are around them because they live there. But,
yeah. And every now and then, some tall, hairy man shows up and throws things at them.
So hopefully you don't.
I was like, hey.
Well, hopefully
That's
you
how I
don't
imagine
encounter
them
them.
communicating.
Just hey.
Hey.
And that is how you speak Bushman.
Yeah, that is Bushman speak.
All right.
And what he's saying is, hey.
Hey.
Hey. Hello.
Hello.
Hey there.
Hello there.
Hello, good sir. Private property. But
Begging your pardon, but
Begging
you're
your pardon.
on my land. I'm going to have to eat your face.
so going on to the next one.
Reaching into the cauldron, stirring about, plucking a name from
Ew.
the bowels within.
The Tizheruk.
All right.
Tizheruk.
The Tizheruk.
Tizheruk. The Tizheruk.
I had the proper pronunciation. Hold on. Okay. The
Tizheruk.
Tizheruk.
The Tizheruk.
So,
Tizheruk.
the Tizheruk.
Hello, Eric. Good to see you.
I didn't even think about that. Yeah. The Tizheruk is said to be a sea serpent-like creature.
Nice.
Inhabiting the waters off the coast of Alaska, particularly around Key Island.
I'm all about sea serpents.
I like a sea
I am
serpent.
almost positive they exist, and probably terribly horrifying to encounter. When I was living in Italy, I was like 11 years old, and they found a sea snake, which I'd never even heard of. But it was a sea snake, and it was like this, ridiculously anaconda-sized snake, but it had come up into the canals. And they were like, it's just a sea snake. I was like, no, that's what they put on maps to warn you not to sail.
Yes. The well, it wasn't there in the Pacific Northwest off of Vancouver Island. Wasn't there these mysterious feet showing up?
Yes.
Yep.
That was so bizarre.
And they thought that it was like a sea serpent or a sea monster of sorts.
Some large animal just gobbling people up.
Yeah, because one guy, I think it was an episode of Unsolved Mysteries where they were talking about this, and this guy had an encounter where he was like, I saw this sea monster, but he was like psyching himself out at the end of it. He's like, but I could have been.
Might have been my imagination.
And he's like, but he described this like whole monster, like snake creature that would fight Godzilla type, coming out of the water. And I'm like, that sounds like something that would spit out people's feet.
Right. Or chomp them so much that they get the whole body except for the feet.
Exactly.
And then the feet are like,
He's actually a germaphobe.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
like, ew, gross.
ew.
But nonetheless, though, so according to local folklore, this creature is approximately 12 to 15 feet long, with a head resembling that of a snake or a dragon, and is believed to have a flipper tail. It is said to be capable of snatching people off the docks without being noticed.
Wow.
Stay off the docks.
That's horrifying. Don't.
Hey, where's Eric? Tis Eric.
But the cryptid is rooted in the legends of the Inuit people, who describe it as quietly lurking in the water and capturing unwary animals and people. The Tizheruk was also known as the Palrayuk and is a fascinating cryptid from the folklore of the Inuit people of Alaska, particularly associated with the northern coastal areas.
It kind of sounds like a giant alligator.
It kind of does.
Yeah.
We have
Kinda.
stories of alligators like snatching people. Did you ever see that horrible? There's a circulation of a picture of them cutting open an alligator and a golfer was inside of it.
Oh,
wow.
no.
Yeah. Don't look it up. It's terrible.
That sounds awful. And according to the legend, the Tizheruk is a stealthy predator. It lives in the water close to the shore and is capable of snatching up animals as well from the piers and docks. Its presence is often suspected only by the mysterious disappearance of creatures that venture too near the water's edge. So literally nobody notices this thing until they're like, what happened?
That's how crocodiles hunt.
That is how crocodiles hunt.
Animals, skittish animals, I might add, go down to drink from the riverbed, and somehow the crocodile's like, I'm not here, I'm and then it's like, antelope, how did you not notice the crocodile? And of course, that's us, at home watching a nature documentary.
Right.
Going, I saw that thing a mile away. It's like, because the cameraman was pointing at it.
But
if you were there, you probably wouldn't notice.
it's true. You weren't expecting the crocodile to just be waiting for you. Well, I guess you should.
Always expect it.
Always expect the crocodile.
When you open your refrigerator, there might be a crocodile in there waiting to snatch you.
Which, by the way, one of my biggest fears in life, crocodiles. Horrifying things. I grew up in Florida. Alligators, swamp puppies. They're fat. They're very lazy. They
will eat you, though. Don't go
only if
petting
you're
an
doing
alligator.
stupid things. I have swam. I've literally you're talking to somebody who has been chased by an alligator, and I outran it.
Yes, you can outrun an alligator as long as you're not running in a straight line.
Yes.
Because an alligator can run very fast in a straight line. Serpentine.
Mm-hmm.
If an alligator is chasing you, serpentine, because an alligator has to move its whole body to turn.
They teach you that in elementary school in Florida.
They taught us that. We went camping in the Boy Scouts, and they're like, "No, there are alligators in this water." It's like, why are we camping here?
But crocodiles, though, they're just mean.
They are mean.
They're really mean, and I've always thought they were the most horrifying creatures ever. And I had a guest on my tour one time who was from Australia, from Adelaide, and I was like, I need to know, are the crocodiles really that bad there? And she's like, yes.
Yeah.
Yar.
And we just lost every Australian listener.
No. I know that's a very bad Australian accent, but she really was like, yes, they are really bad. There's a whole season where you can't swim in Australia.
Well, yeah.
Because of the crocodiles. I'm like, that's horrifying. That's awful. What a horrible thing.
And I always had this theory that around the time of the Crusades, when we had all these people from Europe heading down into the Middle East to fight these wars, they would encounter these creatures. And imagine you see a creature that is longer than your horse, covered in scales, with sharp teeth, just snatching things up. You're going to call that a dragon. You're going to see that and be like, I just saw a dragon. And it's
Absolutely.
like, I think they call it a crocodile. Shut up. It's a dragon.
It's a dragon.
I know a dragon when I see a dragon.
But back to the Tizheruk. So in some of the stories, the Tizheruk is not just a mindless beast, but a guardian of the waters, suggesting a significance in some native cultures. The protective aspect might be linked to taboos or warning about the dangers lurking in the cold and unpredictable waters of Alaska, serving as a natural method of teaching caution to those living near or on the water.
Sure.
Which makes sense. They're
Absolutely.
like, you don't know what's in there, which is a good rule of thumb for all bodies of
So
water.
I don't like swimming in like the ocean, especially in murky ocean water, because it's like,
Right.
if I can't see my feet, I don't want to swim in it. Because I don't want whatever could be just gnawing on my feet to roll up and start gnawing on my feet.
Exactly.
Just saying, don't like it.
So basically, it seems like it's a cautionary tale, or it's not to be ruled out that it's not some type of dinosaur from way back when, where these civilizations were living with crazy
Could be some weird
creatures.
cold water crocodile.
Yeah.
Which would be horrifying.
That would be really
All I
horrifying.
got for it was a seal. It basically looked like a big old seal.
A seal would work.
Okay.
Because some seals are
Great.
fierce.
Yeah.
I really suck at
We got
this.
into our head that seals were just sweet and cuddly.
They're very,
They
very
can
cuddly.
bite your face off.
No. No.
They will bite your face.
Them sausages.
Did you not see Happy Feet?
Listen, that's just one movie.
That's just one interpretation.
That's just
of
one
a seal.
person's story.
Just because seals are carnivores doesn't mean that they bite your face off.
Doesn't mean they want my face. Maybe they just want Happy Feet's face. Anywho, moving on.
I'm thinking they won't turn your face down.
Yes.
They won't be like, oh, no thanks. Get that face away from me.
Get that face away from me.
All right, I have reached into the cauldron.
Into the cauldron.
I have pulled out it's the is it the Lake Hyama?
It's Lake Yamana.
Yama? Oh, is it?
Yamna.
Oh, it's
Yamana.
it's three eyes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got
E.
photos
It looked like
for
an H
that.
because of where the fold is here.
Yes.
I got photos
Yamana.
for that.
The Lake Yamana. monster.
Which
So,
is like the
here's
Alaskan
lake,
Nessie.
y'all. Here's the lake, y'all. That's the
If
lake.
you're gonna have a large lake, you're gonna have a large lake monster. That's just
True.
the way it goes.
Pretty lake. It's beautiful.
It is very pretty.
Tranquil
How
waters.
close is it to be? How close is it going to be from you?
I don't know. Let me look. Because Alaska is ginormous, there's no reason for me to believe that I'm going to be close to anything.
Let's see.
So, we'll start out with saying it's Lake Iliamna.
Oh,
Iliamna.
Okay.
Now, Lake Iliamna, Alaska's largest lake, is reputed to be home to a large aquatic creature, often compared to the Loch Ness Monster in Scotland, because they have a lot of similarities. Descriptions of the creature known locally as Illy, just like Nessie,
Yep.
vary, with some accounts suggesting it resembles a giant fish or a marine reptile. Sightings report disturbances in the water and large dark spots moving beneath the surface.
So I'll be 319 miles from.
Nice. You can drive that.
That is a journey.
That's long. That's a
Yes.
long distance. That's like to Atlanta and back. That's
Right. Even further, I would
Yes.
think. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fishermen and pilots in the area have reported seeing large, unexplained creatures that are far bigger than any known local fish species.
Okay.
So
So it's good fishing, is what you're saying.
yes, very good fishing. Don't tell JT. But
I'm in it.
but the descriptions of Illy vary, but it is generally portrayed as a large aquatic creature. Now, basically, they think that it resembled the giant fish sort of thing, but some people say it was a more serpentine form, similar to a marine reptile or a sturgeon.
They were just talking about how sturgeons are kind of terrifying.
They are. They're really creepy.
And they get big. Sturgeons get very large. So I think there are a lot of misidentifications where someone sees something moving in the water. It's large. It's kind of weird because it has strange fin patterns and strange scale patterns. I could easily see somebody looking at a sturgeon and thinking, "Oh, sea monster! This is a sea monster.
Well,
I'm going home."
Actually, last month, JT and I and our friend went shark tooth hunting, which to go shark tooth hunting properly in this area, you usually need a boat to get out to the little,
You have to get to those little
islands and
islands.
Yeah.
stuff. So we went out to this one island that obviously has no people living on
Was
it.
it Sharktooth Island?
Yes, it was Shark Tooth Island.
No. We didn't go to Sharktooth Island because it was so busy.
Oh,
it
which
was
one
the
was
one
it?
across on South Carolina side.
All right.
Yeah. So regardless, we went to one of those little barrier islands, and we were walking along the beach, and I decided to go up towards the roots where the trees were, because sometimes you can look in the roots and with erosion and stuff, you find things. Well, I go up into this little cove that had that was between the trees, and I see this massive swarm of flies.
Yup.
And so I'm like, why are there so many flies?
Something's dead.
And I look over, and I kid y'all not, this thing had to be at least, 6 feet?
It was massive.
It was
It
massive.
was massive, and we didn't know what it was.
It was the largest fish
Did you
I've
take a picture of it?
I'm trying to find the photo.
Okay.
Yes. Largest thing ever, but we couldn't identify it because it looked like something had taken a big chomp out of its head.
Yep, that's a problem.
Yeah. I have one of its scales at my
Well,
house.
the thing about going
So-
shark tooth hunting is that they come out of sharks. So we do have a lot of sharks in this area, and people don't realize how close they are to sharks at any given moment. As a matter of fact, all the time at the Tybee Island Pier, which is a pier that just stretches out on Tybee Island, just not even 300 feet, and people will fish off it. They're always pulling shark.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, but people are swimming here. It's like, yeah, these are little shark. It's like the ones you're catching are little shark. The ones that you're not catching might be gigantic.
I sent it to you.
I'm going to.
I said it's not delivered yet, but I sent it to you, and I'm also going to put it on for the podcast. This thing was insane.
Yeah. Interesting.
It was
Yeah, see, that kind
so
of pattern
crazy.
on a fish definitely makes you think you could misidentify that as a monster.
Oh yeah,
Right.
Because these
All
are
day.
like Godzilla spine. You know, it's got these spines on it that make you really think I'm looking. And if you just saw just that
Yeah.
on the crest of the water,
Oh,
you
yeah.
would
That's a monster.
You would naturally assume it was a monster.
And
Yep.
regardless, though, I have one of its scales now. So that was the end of that. But very jarring. So what we do think, though, is that is definitely a sturgeon.
Yeah.
Yeah, this definitely looks like an armored sturgeon. Yeah.
So they're in the Savannah River.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
These sturgeons are in the Savannah River. I mean, I would think that people might think that they're cryptids because that's
I
not
would.
something you
Absolutely.
find in the Savannah
Yeah.
River.
Well, I
But
mean,
it is.
technically, our dolphins are cryptids.
They are.
In the Savannah River, and I think it's because the Savannah River, of course, has voluminous radioactive waste from the Savannah nuclear plant, and so now we have mutants just
Exactly.
populating the river.
Yeah. I will tell you,
That
it
is
was
an
wild.
intense creature.
It really is.
Is that a tire?
Yes.
Yes, yes, it was.
Correct.
It was a tire. Hold on, I'm trying, Pair Junkies. Let me go ahead and get it on up for you.
Well, regardless, we'll keep going.
Yeah.
So, sightings of Illy date all the way back to indigenous accounts, long before the area was regularly visited by outsiders, which is interesting. So, local native tribes, particularly the Tenaina, have legends of large creatures in the lake, which they treated with a mix of respect and caution, as one should, with a giant lake creature that you don't understand.
Right. Yes, definitely.
But modern interest in Illy began to grow in the mid 20th century as more settlers and fishermen reported strange encounters and sightings. So some of the scientific theories and explanations include that one common theory is that the monster could be a giant sturgeon, like what you were seeing in this photo. As some species of sturgeon can grow to be quite large and might account for some of the descriptions and sightings. Sturgeons have a prehistoric appearance that could lead to misidentification as a monster, especially by those not familiar with the species.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Exactly. Another hypothesis suggests that these sightings could be attributed to schools of large fish like salmon, particularly in spawning
that's
season.
interesting. Yes.
So, logs and other floating debris can also be mistaken for a creature when viewed from a long distance, specifically under poor light conditions.
So let me go ahead and just say, let me just tell you just a real quick story about this sturgeon.
Yeah.
Okay. This sturgeon, we thought it was a dinosaur. When we were like, I've never seen any
Never.
Fish like this. I mean, these scales are massive. I had no idea that sturgeon were in Savannah, in the Savannah River. You think of them in the Pacific Northwest, right? So we find out. Dad goes, "That's a sturgeon," because we FaceTime him. He goes, "That's a sturgeon," and I'm like, "All right." And I'm looking at Madison, and she's like, looking. She goes, "I love the scales," and I'm like, "Okay," and she.
Oh my God.
What?
That is the
The
biggest
largest sturgeon caught in Canada was 11 feet 6 inches.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Oh yeah. So wait, where was I in that story? Hold on.
Oh, I love the
Oh
scales.
yeah. So she's like, I love the scales, and I'm like looking. And for those of you who don't know, my wife is a witch, and I know that these scales, like having a sturgeon scale, especially a Savannah sturgeon scale, would be incredible. So I go down, I have my pocket knife, and I go try to cut a scale out for her, and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna cut the scale out. I am scissoring away at this thing for 15 minutes. It is armored.
It's armored,
This is like
yeah.
cutting through metal. And these gases are spraying into my face as I'm cutting it. But I'm already in it. I'm like already in it. And I'm looking at her, and she's just like, I want this scale. And I'm like, okay. And so I'm like slicing away at this thing, and I finally get it out. It's like super dead. From the photo, you can see it's like super dead. It's all over my hands. I couldn't get it. I couldn't get the smell off my hands for like 2 days.
Ugh.
It was disgusting. And I remember this rotted gas spraying up into my mouth as I'm like making that noise. It's disgusting. It's probably the grossest thing that I've ever done in my entire life. But my wife got her scale.
But Yeah. The moral of the story, Madison gets what she wants.
Yes. Correct.
Correct.
And then I put it into a Firehouse Subs box and transported it home. But anywho, so Lake Iliamna is a ecologically significant area known for its biodiversity. So not impossible that it would have some kind of crazy fish. But it's particularly known for its salmon populations. And environmentalists and biologists are also interested in the lake, though more for its ecological importance than its cryptid lore. In discussions,
What?
I know, right?
Boring government office.
But in discussions about Ili, there's often a crossover between the interest in the mythical creature and the awareness of environmental and conservation issues, highlighting the need to protect this unique ecosystem. So,
Boom.
You know what? Folklore's doing good stuff for that lake.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Because they're like, well, in the chance that there is a giant sea monster, we want it to stay
we'll
here.
protect it.
We want it to stay here.
Right. From future development.
Jay, do we have time to do another?
Yeah, do one more.
All right.
Do one more.
One more from the cauldron.
We're only doing one episode this live stream, but Chris, you free Sunday? Because we got to do a couple before you go to Alaska.
Yes, this is true.
Cool.
All
I
right.
don't know about Sunday. I'll have to get back to you.
Okay.
But
Cool,
Monday, definitely, if you want to do
Heard
Monday.
that. We could possibly do Monday afternoon.
All right. So this one is, I have to get to it to find the pronunciation because it is.
There's way too many K's in that.
There's way too many K's. It is a very hard word. So we're going to have to find a nickname for this for the duration of this episode. So you don't have to.
Is it? I just called him Akko.
Akko. I like that. Okay. We're going to call it that, but I will tell you the actual pronunciation first so that you can hear it at least. But it's called the Akkorokamui. Akkorokamui.
Akkorokamui.
Very long. And yeah, so it is spelled this way. Akkorokamui. But it is not pronounced that way. So, Akkorokamui. So, but we're going to call it Akko.
Akko.
So,
Akko.
Hey, Akko.
but he's not sweet,
Oh.
or she, or they. This giant octopus is
Oh. We got all this way, and I didn't even know it was an octopus.
is a part of both Ainu and Alaskan lore. The Akko is said to have a span of up to 120 feet
Oh my gosh.
and a striking...
That a big boy.
That fits.
Now, is that
with
like
the photo I found.
if it spreads out like a star, it's 100,
would feel
or
like
is
that's-
it like from the head to the end of the tentacle this way?
Either way, doesn't matter. It's still a really big octopus.
Kinda. Kinda.
I mean, octopi are incredibly intelligent
Super
species
intelligent. Absolutely.
and horrifying just on their own as little guys. 120 feet of that level of intelligence, horrifying. And it has a striking red color that can be seen from a
Interesting.
distance in the water. It is often described as having the ability to emit a peculiar light, possibly bioluminescence, which is used to attract or disorient prey.
So that kind of sounds more like a squid.
A little bit, which, if you've ever seen a giant squid, also horrifying.
Horrifying.
That's a dinosaur.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Well, what's always scared me about squids is they're all squishy, right? But
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
in the middle, there's like a bird beak.
yeah,
And the bird beak freaks me out.
they hide it from you.
It's like, da, I'm squishy, I'm squishy, I'm squishy, bird beak. And you're like, oh,
I'm going to crush your skull
You-
with it.
you killed me with your bird beak.
But boo. We don't like that. That's
We
not
don't
nice.
like it. Don't like it.
But fishermen have both respected and feared this creature, attributing mysterious disappearances and shipwrecks to its immense tentacles.
Yeah, yes, that will do it.
So the Akko...
Just got a kraken on the Pacific side, right?
Yeah, it's basically like a kraken. So the Akko is described predominantly as an enormous octopus or squid sometimes, with reports varying in size from a conservative 30 feet to an outstanding 20 feet in length specifically.
Oh, so that is from the head to the tip of the tentacle. Gotcha.
Its most distinctive feature, apart from its massive size, is the red color, and its coloration is often associated with the supernatural in Ainu folklore, marking the creature as a being of power and mystery. In Ainu mythology, the Akko is both seen as a powerful sea spirit with both benevolent and malevolent aspects. Its great size and strength means that it can be a danger to fishermen and ships, capable of ensnaring them with its huge tentacles and dragging them into the depths. However, the Akko is also considered a god of the sea, capable of healing and bestowing knowledge. Because it's an octopus, and octopuses...
Very smart.
Octopi, they're smarter than most animals. Like... They can escape things. They can squeeze through things. They have, there's been research.
Jars.
They can open jars. There has been research that shows that they have memory. So, yeah, that makes total sense that this creature would be associated with being a entity that bestows knowledge. But... basically, other than that, this dual nature reflects the sea itself, which is both a source of sustenance and a perilous force. One of the most famous legends about the Akko involves an encounter with the Ainu hero, Shakushane. According to the story, Shakushane once helped the creature when it was injured. And in return, first off, what injured this thing?
What's out there beating up on it?
That was a detail that was left out, and I feel like for a reason, because they're like, that's a minor detail. We don't need to talk about the giant other sea creature that's bigger than that thing. But regardless, he was injured, and in return, the Akko taught him the language of the sea creatures, which is super cool. I want to learn the language of the sea creatures. But such stories underline the themes of respect and reciprocity in Ainu culture, emphasizing the importance of maintaining a balanced relationship with the natural world. The creature's ability to emit a bright, shining light, it adds to its supernatural aura and has been interpreted as a sign of its divine nature guiding or warning sailors. While there is no scientific evidence to prove the existence of the Akko, per se, some believe that the legend may be based on real encounters with giant squids, which are deep ocean dwelling creatures known to grow to significant sizes and can exhibit reddish coloration. And also because of their deep sea nature, now I am not an expert on giant squids, but I do know that they are deep enough that it would make sense that they might have a bioluminescence attribute because they need to glow to a degree.
Right.
Because it's so dark.
Because it's so dark. There's no light.
But such encounters, particularly by cultures with strong maritime traditions, could easily be embellished into stories of mythical beasts. But that is a mythical beast. No matter how much you cut it, that is a mythical beast. But today, the Akko has become part of pop culture, appearing in books, films, and other media, and is a very well-revered cryptid. Now, interestingly, though, the Akko has also found its way into the folklore of regions of Alaska where similar giant octopi legends exist, demonstrating how stories can travel and adapt across cultures, reflecting shared human fascinations with the unknown and formidable forces of nature. But with that, that is our last cryptid of the day. Good for you, Alaska. You guys really, you came through with some really horrifying entities. All of those I would not like to encounter in any capacity. But it makes sense that if you have such a rugged, very brutal terrain, you're going to produce brutal cryptids because only the strong survive in these situations. You know, it's like Bigfoot but unhinged, or
Sure.
120-foot octopi. Hardy creatures, very hardy creatures.
Very hardy creatures. And I think it's worth noting that last cryptid is Japanese.
Yes. I guess I skipped that because I was going to say there was that crossover.
Yeah, because every time he said Ainu, I was like, Ainu? Is that Inuit? Are you saying Inu? Is it Ainu? And I was like, because isn't Ainu Japanese? And it is Japanese. But that would put it in that Pacific Ocean span of, how do we identify it? Well, you got a giant octopus, we got a giant octopus. Mm-hmm. You got a thing that sometimes glows red in the sea and attacks you with tentacles. We got a thing that glows in the sea and attacks us with tentacles.
And not far enough to really be like there aren't multiple of these giant monsters.
No, of course not. And that is the kind of the intriguing thing about those waters is you imagine that the colder your water is, the more ancient the things that live in it are, right? We're not doing all that much exploring in that water, and we're not doing, all that much, fishing or even industrial stuff in that, frozen Arctic water.
Well, isn't there that statistic too where it's like 90% of the world's oceans are not
unexplored? Yeah, absolutely.
So who are we to say that there isn't a giant octopi swimming around?
I mean, there's like a level in every ocean that's just like, well, that's the cap off for us.
Yeah,
we're not going any further than this.
We're not going that. Yeah, because you will literally combust.
Right, it'll just squish you.
It'll just squish you.
Unless you're Jason Statham, who can just run on the ground of the Marianas Trench without any protection. And all he had to do was blow the air out of his lungs so he didn't get crushed by the pressure. For those of you who don't know, I'm referencing Meg 2, which is a movie in which Jason Statham runs on the surface of the bottom of the ocean. And the way he protects himself from the pressure is by taking all his gear off and blowing the air out of his lungs. The end.
The end. Scientifically, no. But nonetheless, though, we love a good cryptid. And Alaska,
absolutely.
Thank you for providing some of those.
I'll be going look for the Bushman.
Yep.
While I'm in Alaska.
Practice your Bushman mating calls. I'm sure that's what'll.
I think it goes like.
What in the heck?
You've been waiting for that one.
I have. That is. We encountered howler monkeys, and that's the noise they make.
That is.
And it was so bizarre and alarming that me and my friends, we all learned how to do it because it was, and you could have a conversation. A howler monkey will respond to that. You'd be like, oh, and they're like, oh, 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 and you're like, oh. It's a good conversation piece. They go home and they're like, you'll never believe what this guy said to me. No, it was a human.
It was a human. He speaks.
He said the worst things about my mom.
Well, we'll see how that works.
Yes, I will be testing that out in the wilds of Alaska.
Yes,
because apparently, the day starts at 10 and ends at 10 at night for the conference, but at 7 in the morning, they do a nature hike.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
I'll go out on the nature hike and do the nature hike.
Do the nature hikes.
Maybe. That's a big maybe. Also, apparently, I'm there when the sun is not setting. So it only gets to dusk. And it only does that around 2 in the morning. So it's going to be like some of the worst ghost hunting ever. It's like, all right, it's 1 o'clock in the morning, but it looks about 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
Don't let it fool you.
It's spooky with the sun out right there. That's spooky.
Well, these ghosts are hardy. I'm sure
hardy ghosts.
I'm sure they'll be fine with that. But all righty, y'all. Well, thank you so much for listening to today's episode and also joining us in our new space. So we hope that you like it. We're going to keep adding to it, and soon it will be nice and chaotic and spooky. So, but with that, y'all, my name's Madison Timmons.
I'm Chris Susi.
And stay spooky, y'all. Oh, no.
Why?
Why is it going away?